To ease restrictions for airline passengers is not sitting well with everyone. Starting in April, the TSA will allow passengers to carry with them on board items like pocket knives, which have been banned since 9/11. The TSA says its decision will allow workers to focus on more serious weapons, but this is stirring anger among 9/11 victims' families, also flight attendants. And joining me now is Vita Shook, president of the Association of Flight Attendants, which is a union organization. Vita, welcome. And, I almost feel silly asking you why you are opposed to this, but go ahead and explain what the problem is.
Well, the problem is introducing weapons on board. So knives have been prohibited on board commercial aircraft for over a decade, and a reintroduction of weapons on board just doesn't make any sense.
Okay. Former TSA Chief Kip Hawley agrees with this decision, though, says it should go a step further to allow battle axes, even machetes on board, both of which are obviously banned. So how do you respond to his argument that searching for these smaller items, if you will, that's a waste of time, in essence distracting them from finding bigger weapons, things that could bring down an airliner?
Well, that kind of hyperbole, those kind of statements that you should be able to bring a machete, I mean, that's just flat out crazy. So what this is about is an aircraft tens of thousands of feet up in the air in a very confined space with no way to get out. And someone could use a knife as a potentially lethal weapon, and we don't want to have those on board. So what Kip Hawley would have been suggesting is that the aircraft flight deck door is fortified. That has been fortified since 9/11, and that is working very well, and we totally support that and are thankful for that. And that makes sure that the aircraft can't be used as a weapon of mass destruction, such as what occurred on September 11th, unfortunately. However, what about everyone else in the cabin? And we've all heard stories of, passengers that, might have had too much to drink or something like that. And if flight attendants are trained to de-escalate any potential harmful situation, you introduce a blade into that equation, and in fact, it could rapidly escalate and become a very grave and dire situation very quickly.
Oh, yeah, it absolutely could. Now, it's hard to actually compare to these days versus prior to 9/11 because airline travel has gotten more difficult in so many ways. You have more people on planes, they're packed. People's tempers they don't have as much generosity there with dealing with the issues. So do you know, though, prior to 9/11, how often something like this was used against flight attendants?
Well, first of all, this isn't just about flight attendants. This is about flight attendants being in charge in the cabin and working to protect every single passenger on board. So I don't have data on incidents that happened before 9/11, but I do know of certain incidents. So I myself am a flight attendant for Alaska Airlines. In 2000, there was a very serious incident where a passenger wielded a 2.5-inch blade and actually attempted to penetrate the cockpit. So now we know that cockpit's secure, but he used that weapon against the flight attendant and passengers to attempt to breach the cockpit.
I'm curious, have you heard any backlash on this from passengers? I mean, I, for one, would say I don't want to have knives on board. I don't care if it takes me longer to screen.
No, we've actually received overwhelmingly positive support from the passengers. They are in agreement with us, by and large, that reintroducing knives on board just makes no sense.
All right, Vita Shook, thank you so much for speaking with us. Good luck with everything.